Hey, good morning, everyone. We'll get started. Welcome to Morning Coffee. It is Wednesday, March 23rd. It's a great day at STrEAM Academy. We have an awesome morning coffee lineup for you this morning. I am your host, Principal Adam Okelke, and with me, as always, is our admin assistant extraordinaire, Mrs. Beyondich. Good morning, Sylvia. How are we doing?
Good morning, Principal Mokelke. It's going to be a great day. We get to hear from eighth graders and we get to hear from local author Dante Medema, and I'm super excited about today.
Me too. We are excited to have a local author, a young adult fiction writer with us this morning, and excited about her book and to visit with her. We also have presentations from our eighth graders today, from our eighth grade team on projects, and that's going to be awesome. Anchorage STrEAM Academy empowers students to be involved learners, critical thinkers, and engaged citizens inspired by the natural world. That's our beautiful mission. We are back face-to-face in person with kids this week. Monday was the first day in over a year we had full in-person learning at school, and it's been incredible. It's been great. The first 2 great days back with kids were great. Everything went really well. Such a joy to see our kids and all our teachers and to have school in person again. We touched on the agenda for today already. We'll talk about upcoming and important things and events and what's coming up next in Morning Coffee. We'll hear from our nonprofit about this really cool auction they're doing. We want everyone to participate in bidding on the baskets that our students and staff are putting together. We, as we mentioned, have a guest author, Dante Medema, this morning, which is super exciting. We have 8th grade project presentations that we're really excited about as well. We're all about project-based learning at STrEAM Academy. It's our driving educational philosophy, the core thing that we do at STrEAM. We will touch base on peaks testing. Yes, that is still happening. The state of Alaska still has us doing peaks testing. Yay, peaks. And we'll do that. We'll tell you how that's going to look. Miss Bonerts might chime in on that. Good morning, Miss Bonerts, our counselor in her office downstairs. So as most of you know, we added offices, and Mrs. Beyondich and I are on offices on the main floor, and Miss Bonerts took over my old office and made it somehow look 10 times more inviting and comfortable and welcoming and cozy than I ever had it. I don't quite know how that happened, but you did a great job with that, Ms. Bonerts. Thank you. Upcoming things to remember: if you are a prospective STrEAM student and you're waiting to find out if you got a seat, you will find out on the 26th, which is Friday. You'll find out on Friday. Don't panic if you get an initial message saying that you're on the wait list. Talk to us, because that changes rapidly. All of the seats that we open up, the first set of students that are selected to those get offered those seats, and that's randomized. But our experience has been, like, we take about 60 sixth graders every year, and our experience has been, of those first 60 that get offered a seat, somewhere around 10 will decline their seat because families put in for multiple charters and optional programs, and for various reasons, at least 5 of those will get declined. So 5 to 10 of those students that initially get a waitlist email will shortly thereafter get a email offering you a seat. So that's fluid. What you get on the 26th is not final, and you can always just call and check what's going on. I got a waitlist notification. Where am I at? Am I going to get in? That evolves a lot after the lottery. So just be aware of that. Don't panic. Talk to us. I want to remind everyone on Sunday, it's Sunday, right, Mrs. Beyondich, for Pita Pit?
That's correct, Sunday.
On Sunday, please shop at the Pita Pit. Please eat at the Pita Pit. 10% of all proceeds from all Anchorage Pita Pits go to Anchorage STrEAM Academy, our nonprofit. Actually, STrEAM Anchorage, the nonprofit arm. And that's really cool. So tell everyone you know to have pitas on Sunday, to get pitas on Sunday. You can buy like pitas for the whole week. Just go and spend like $1,000 on pitas and just kidding. Eat a pita. Like I mentioned, peaks testing's coming up actually on Monday, next Monday already. Yeah, on Monday, our 8th graders will take the reading, the ELA peaks. And on Tuesday, 7th graders will take their ELA. So Miss Boner set it up in a cool way this year so that each grade level is testing the same day. All you have to do is remember 8th graders, you're testing on Monday. 7th graders are testing on Tuesday and 6th graders on Thursday, right, Amy? Okay. Let's see.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Next week, we have a partnership with the Parks Focus, part of our outdoor ed focus. We have Aaron Kirkland and Meredith Gutierrez from Anchorage Parks and Rec and Anchorage Parks Foundation coming on with Miss Gatlin to talk about parks and getting outside every day and all of those awesome opportunities that you have in Anchorage with our parks. And then on the 7th, we'll have Mr. Mose and Mr. Perkins, 7th grade cohort presenting. Next week is also our 8th grade cohort. So we have 8th graders on back-to-back this week for projects and next week for their presentation. So lots of stuff coming up, important stuff. Mrs. Bionis, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what's happening with our 501c3 with STrEAM Anchorage?
Sure. STrEAM Anchorage is the 501c3 that is the fundraising arm for Anchorage STrEAM Academy. We're holding 2 fundraisers this spring. The first one is Pita Pit Sunday in conjunction with Pitas for a Purpose. Anchorage Pita Pit sponsors a nonprofit during the winter months on Sundays and donates 10% of all their proceeds to the nonprofit that they're sponsoring. They finish their winter season on March 28th with STrEAM Anchorage and Anchorage STrEAM Academy. So that's happening on Sunday. So go and get a pita on Sunday. It just so happens that my son manages one of those pita pits. So let's overwhelm his job. We're also doing an online basket auction, which is going to begin April 30th. We've already started the advertisement on it. Parents should have received a letter, an old-fashioned snail mail letter through the postal service with information about that. If you're interested in helping with fundraising, you can give me a call and I can get you connected. We're having another parent meeting on Monday, the 29th at 6 o'clock. It's a Zoom meeting. It should last about 20 to 30 minutes. It just provides information for parents so they know what's going on. And then the 501c3 has their annual meeting on Wednesday, April 7th at 5:30. Should take about 45 minutes. So if you're interested in participating in the annual meeting and seeing what we've done and what we do and what our plans are, just call the school and we will get a link to you for that meeting.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Beyondich. I am really excited about the basket auction, and I think I know what the baskets are already, and so I think I have a couple in mind that I'm going to try to win. Definitely, I'm going to walk away with one of those baskets for sure. So I plan on being the highest bidder. The admin team, Miss Bonertz and Miss Gatlin and myself. We are doing a basket as well. It's whatever I ask teachers and students to do. I try to walk that walk. So our basket is, we decided to do a charcuterie basket theme. So we'll have like meats and cheeses and jellies, and working on getting Mr. Perkins, who does some really cool craft work, to do a cutting board, a handmade cutting board to put in there. I have a handmade cutting board that Mr. Perkins made. It's awesome. So I also do a little side business where I make smoked meats and bacon, craft smoked bacon And so there'll be some things that I make in there, and then whatever Miss Bonerts and Miss Gatlin surprises they have up their sleeve. Miss Bonerts, what else is going to be in our admin team? I want our basket to be the best. So
you pretty much already nailed it, but like anything you would put on a good, yummy charcuterie board or poo-poo platter or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But nuts and maybe some olives and just yummy stuff.
Yeah, poo-poo platter. I love that. That's my brother-in-law, my sister Jean's husband is Hawaiian, and he uses that term. They use that term a lot. Poo-poos. Got to have poo-poos out whenever you have company. So poo-poo platter basket. Can we change our name of our basket to the poo-poo basket? That's what I want.
No.
Okay, fine. All right. Before I introduce our guest author, actually, I want to introduce one other person really quickly. We have someone who's joined our staff for the remainder of the year, and hopefully we'll find that person with us even longer term. We brought on a building sub to provide coverage and support however it's needed, coming back to in-person and then just through the end of the year. And we got somebody who's really amazing, who's been jumped right in with both feet and has done whatever needs to be done, all of the extra things, and covering a class if a teacher's out, and helping provide an extra adult for outdoor breaks, helping me with parking lot duty, which has been a huge help. And that person's Jeremiah Boone. I want to introduce Mr. Boone, so the newest addition to our staff, and just want to say hi or say good morning, Jeremiah. Thank you so much just for joining our staff and for being awesome.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be part of the staff as well. So excited for the next couple of months, and yeah, hopefully further as well. Welcome
to our staff, Mr. Boone. All right, the next feature of our program this morning, and I told Dante that it would be about 8:15 we brought her on, and it is right now 8:15. So we're getting pretty good at the timing of this thing, Miss Bionich. I think we'll have morning coffee like perfected right as we end the school year and it's over. Our next guest is an author, a local author, an Anchorage author named Dante Medema, and she has written this book that we have copies of at STrEaM Academy. It's a young adult fiction, and it's called The Truth Project. And it is a brilliant and a beautiful book. And we recommend, especially for 7th and 8th graders, we recommend that you pick this up. It's written in verse, and it's really a really cool style. I actually shared with Dante, my daughter Lily is not a big reader. I've had a lot of trouble getting her to really get into reading and engage. And she reads, but she's just not a big reader. And I gave her The Truth Project, and honestly, I'm not saying this because Dante's here this is the truth. Like, she loved that book. It's more than any book she's ever read. She's never asked me for more books. I always just get her books, say, hey, why don't you read this? When she finished The Truth Project, she couldn't stop telling me about it, the story and everything that happened, and like all the connections she made to her own life. And then she said, Dad, can you find me more books like this one? Like, that's written like this. Like, I really want more books. And so I actually reached out to Dante and said, hey, what other authors write in your style? And when are you going to have more books written? So, yeah, just an amazing book, The Truth Project. And we big part of why we brought Dante on also is she is a local author. She lives in Anchorage, Alaska with her husband and her 4 daughters. And according to her bio, a room full of alien memorabilia and books. So welcome, Dante Medema. Welcome to Morning Coffee. We're so glad to have you on. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. Just listening this morning. You guys sound like such a lovely family.
Thank you. I think we are a family at STrEaM Academy. Tell us first about The Truth Project. There's so many things we want to know. What inspired the book and your style? Not only the book, but just the style you write in, the series of poems, text, emails. Like, it's just such a cool and unique way of writing. Tell us more, please.
if I have to argue with my puppies at some point, please don't take it personally. They are just learning to get along. We have a new rescue, and our old pup, I shouldn't say old, but our first pup is like, but I'm the special one. But to your question, The Truth Project is a novel in verse about a girl who finds out via an online ancestry kit that she's the product of an affair. And the story kind of came to me when I did my own ancestry journey, and I did a 23andMe kit, and I got my results back. And then my sister calls me a few weeks later, and she's like, hey, I was looking through some paperwork. And we come from what we call a complicated family dynamic. Our parents have been married a few times over, and we have acquired a lot of half siblings and step siblings along the way. And she wanted to know if she was the product of an affair, because I'm 12 years older than her. She was like, was I an affair baby? And luckily I was able to tell her that no, we were not. But it sparked an idea. And what happened was I remember vividly sitting in the parking lot. We were in Arizona. My husband and I was very pregnant. I was about to walk into an IKEA. And I spent the entire time in IKEA telling my husband ideas that I was having. I was like, oh my gosh, honey, listen, what if she did this? And what if she did that? And what if it was like this? And he was like, oh my gosh, just write the book. Just write the book already. But I was working on something else, and I didn't write the book until months later after the baby was born. And then, yeah, that's how I got the idea. As far as format, I've always really thrived on playing with structure. Structure fascinates me. I think there's something so voyeuristic about looking into someone else's life through their poems or through their text messages and emails. And if you think about it, you pick up someone's phone, right? No matter who you are, someone could easily look at your texts and emails and social media apps, and they could get a picture of who you are based on how you talk to different people. In the book, you notice Cordelia speaks very differently with her best friend Sana than she does Kodiak, and even more so differently with her teachers and her parents. She has relationships with all these people, and she behaves differently with all of these people. So yeah, that was kind of part of it. And in a way, the way I chose to tell the story, verse kind of happened in a weird way. I'm not a poet, but I definitely love poetry, and I love novels in verse. And I had been reading so many of them. And I thought, who would be most impacted to learn that she was the product of an affair? Who would be most affected by this discovery? And it would be someone who's very in touch with herself and in touch with her emotions. And I was like, what if she was a poet? So yeah, that is why that came about.
That's a good description of it. I've been trying to put my finger on what this style does to affect the book and how it's read and how you absorb it. And the word voyeuristic helped me to really help me to pinpoint what the style does. Go ahead, Ms. Beyondich.
Yeah, I want to know, Dante, what surprised you the most during the creative process?
Oh gosh, this book this book just took me by surprise in general. Like I said, I've worked on a few different projects. This is definitely. Okay, you gotta be quiet. Sorry, I've got 4 kids. Okay, Dobby, come. This is the life of a professional author.
No worries. We're used to life on Zoom from our homes, and it's totally okay.
Everything.
Yeah.
What surprised me most? This book surprised me most. I have worked on 3 other manuscripts, and this is my debut. So this is my first book out. And so the difference between this book and other books is that this is the book that got me an agent. This is the book that my agent sold. This is the book that is now out in the world. And the process that surprised me was how fast it went. It is not that way every book. And I've queried other books. I've tried to get an agent with other books, but I wrote this book in 6 weeks. It was crazy. Wrote it in 6 weeks, queried it almost immediately. I wrote it in July. In August, I started querying. In September, I got an agent. In October, we went on submission with editors. And then in November, the day of the big earthquake, my book went to auction. So it was just this like whirlwind, almost like Cinderella story for me, where all of these things happened all at once within a very small time frame when I've really been writing for 10 years. So for it to all happen in this very small pocket of time, that was my biggest surprise as far as like the creative process goes. It wasn't the book I worked on for 2 years. It was the
Wow.
book I wrote in 6 weeks and just kind of went, oh, see if I can get an agent, I guess.
That's amazing. So this was really a massive like stroke of inspiration for you as an artist and an author, because to write this in 6 weeks, it just came right out. I think Mrs. Beyondich has another question, and then Mrs. Smith, who is one of our language arts teachers, also wants to say hi and chime in next after Miss Beyondich.
I'm sorry, I am so bursting with, I loved this book, Dante, and I was really shocked when you said earlier that you're not a poet, and I think what shocked me about that is that we hear students say that all the time, students who write poetry or write song lyrics, who say, but I'm not a poet or I'm not a songwriter. But if you do it, then you are it. So you are a poet, just like our students are poets and songwriters.
Yes. No,
and
I agree with that.
This was I just loved this book. I ate this book in such a short period of time. And usually I'm a very, very slow reader. Your book just wrapped me up and carried me along in a tidal wave of emotions and experiences and connections. And so you are a poet. I mean, basically that's what I'm going to tell you. You're a poet and I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith, did you want to jump in?
Hey, thanks for joining us. I teach 8th grade language arts and social studies currently. So you sort of stole my thunder, Ms. Beyondich. I was going to ask about advice on writing poetry, and kind of in the same kind of thinking, like oftentimes, oh, I can't do this. Then we learn what it is and we see some examples. And then when you write poetry, you see I can, and it can take on so many different forms. So just like if you were to talk to some middle school students, what would you say about learning to write poetry or advantages of it?
Okay, so for me, specifically in this book, what I sat down with was a lot of times when I'm writing, my process is kind of like, this is where I am in the outline. So I outline everything I need to be in the book. And then I get to the point where, okay, so this is the part where Cordelia finds or gets the email that says that she has a DNA relative. But for this book, I sat down with a feeling. So it's like, what would she feel with this? And I use as many clues in the poems as I can to pull emotions without telling people how to feel. Like it is one thing to say like, she was sad, but when you like pull different verbs and actions into play, it helps evoke a feeling. And so what I would say, if you want to write poems, if you want to write anything really, is to just do it. And that's like the way that you learn, like just trying and trying. Again, I did not feel like I was a person who could write a whole novel in verse, but I wanted to try it. So if you're interested in something, just try. I don't know if that answers your question.
Sure, yeah, that's great advice.
Just trying is half the battle. And it's one of those things like you can, the best advice I could give is not to feel like you have to uphold a certain level of, I'm losing my word here, but it does not have to be perfect. So like draft 1 is almost never perfect. The first time you do something, it will not be, edited, completely publishable, but you have to start somewhere. And so, yeah, just try, just keep trying. If it's something you're interested in, if it's something that you want to do, like it can never hurt.
Thank you. It produces a further thought of how did you go from the abstract to the concrete, the actual words on paper? Because you talked about going through the store and sharing all those ideas, and that's one of the major struggles is they can see it in their mind, but then making something that other people can see.
Yeah. So it is such a process, and when you pick up a book, I'm going to give you guys a clue. If you pick up a book and you go to the very, very end, there's something called the acknowledgments. And in my book, there is 3 pages of acknowledgments. And those are all the people that made this go from an idea to a book. So it is one thing to sit down and write out, let's say I write a chapter. I give it to a few of my friends, and then they tell me what I could improve or what's not resonating, what doesn't make sense, what could use a little bit of help or explanation. And then beyond that, I have my agent whose eyes are on it and her assistant whose eyes are on it. And then past that, I have my editor. And past my editor is her boss. And past her boss are the 3 copy editors that work on this book. And then when it goes to so what you're seeing is a lot of people involved is my point. Authors themselves make a lot of mistakes. And I can tell you, at the end of the process with the Truth Project, I had a map of Seattle out. I was like, how did I not remember that this is not where that street goes? And you just have a lot of hands in a book. So it is important not to feel like you have to have that idea so concrete and set in stone. And so my 5-year-old has something she says, and I always come back to it. My sisters and I always say it to each other. And it's, with a little help, we can all be brave. And I think with a little help, we can all do anything. And I think it's just important to remember that you're not alone in this process, and to share with your friends, and to take critique from your friends, and to hear and I mean, I always say critique with love. If you're critiquing someone's stuff, don't be mean, but gentle and loving and kind is always important. And empathy is always important, to know that someone trusted you with their words, but just to get feedback and to take it in. And just don't worry about, you have to write it before you can edit it. You can't edit a blank page. So you just have to put it out there, and then it's there, and then you can come back and play with it later.
I like that. Both you have to write it before you can edit it. You've got to get those ideas down on the page first. And I love the quote from your daughter, "The little help."
Me too. I don't know where she came up with it, but she says it all the time. But the little
brilliant.
We can all be brave. I'm yes, we can.
That's brilliant. We are on with guest author Dante Medema, local Anchorage author, talking about her book, The Truth Project, and her process, and how the book came to be. Mr. Beer, another one of our teachers, has his hand up. Mr. Beer, do you have a question for our guest?
Yeah, you were talking about just asking your peers for advice and asking your peers for help. That's something we focus on a lot here at Anchorage STrEAM Academy. I was just wondering if you'd be able to speak to a time when you got some feedback that it was hard to take, and then how you were able to handle that feedback that may have been a little bit more difficult to hear about your book.
Sure. So I think it's important to recognize the difference between feedback and criticism. So there are times, so the rule of thumb kind of is let's say we call them critique partners. You pass your pages on to your trusted CPs. And the rule of thumb is if one person tells you something, it's something to think about. If 2 people say it, you're like, oh yeah, this might be something worth visiting. And if 3 people say it, you're like, okay, yeah, this definitely isn't working. I need to change it. So feedback in and of itself can feel really sad. It's really hard. And I always joke that like whenever I get an edit letter from my editor, my first response is like, how dare you? How dare you not love what I just wrote? This is my heart and soul. And I have to put it away for a little bit. I usually put it away for like the weekend. Give myself some time to like settle with the information. And then usually when I go back and look at it, I'm like, okay, I see where she's coming from. But my first response is never like, oh yeah, I'm psyched about this, because it does sting. It is hard to hear. But ultimately you have to, find people in your community that you feel are critiquing with love. And I think that's the important part about finding your kind of creative family, if you will. But making sure that the people that are giving you the feedback are doing so because they love you and they want to see you succeed, right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference between someone, meanly saying, I remember one time I was in a critique group in college, and the guy told me that and I don't even remember what I was doing. And he's like, if you do this again, I'm going to chop your fingers off. And I was like, okay, that is not my person. I will not be sending pages to that person anymore. So the thing is also protect yourself when you are doing this, because people can be mean. And so find the people that you gel with, find the people that communicate in a way that like you value and appreciate. And I know in school, it's probably a little different because, you're giving it to your peers, and it sounds like you guys have a pretty good community here. But the most important part is like, take the information and put it away for a little bit and then come back to it.
That's great advice. I think it is really similar at school. I think the way you describe critique with love and the trust you have to have with people in order to give and receive that feedback is universal. For sure. We talk about relational capacity, and you can't give and receive feedback very well without relational capacity.
Yes.
The more relational capacity you have with someone, the more you're able to give feedback and to receive feedback from them. And so something I'm constantly aware of as a principal, that if I want to be able to give my staff critique with love, I have to have a lot of relational capacity for them to receive that. So without that relational capacity, it's not going to be received. It's just going to hurt, and it's just going to make them defensive. So I think you're describing some universal truths to feedback. We're going to have to wrap up soon, which I'd hate to do because this has been awesome, and so we're going to have you back another time. But
for having me.
I do want to ask one more question, and you can defer on this if you want to, if you're not ready. But from following you on Twitter and kind of paying attention after we discovered your book, I had an inkling that maybe there's another book or another project in the works that might be coming soon. Do you want to tell us about your next project, your next book that might be coming down the line?
So I can say this much, because in publishing, everything is very under wraps, and I'm not allowed to say much about book 2. I'm working on book 3 right now. My book 2 is at Copy Edits, but it is also about a girl in Alaska, and it is very, very STEM oriented.
Oh, perfect. Two of our big driving educational philosophies at STrEAM are project-based learning and STEM. And so you hit on the project one in the first book, and now we're going to hit on STEM. That's awesome. We can't wait for your second book to come out. We're super excited, and I'm really hoping we can have you back on when the second book is released. I hope we can have you back to talk about that book.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so great.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. It was a pleasure to have you on, and we learned a lot, and just given us the insight into the author's process and creative process and into your book. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Dante.
Of course. Have a good rest of your morning.
Thank you. Bye. That was Dante Medema, local Anchorage author of the Truth Project. If you have a chance to read, you would love. And that was really cool. It was a really good segment. What do you think, Mrs. Beyondich?
I'm super psyched for the next project that she comes up with.
Yeah, me too. That's really cool. We'll definitely have to pick that up. All right, moving on to the second segment of our morning. We have a little more than 20 minutes left, and I'm going to spend a good part of the rest of the show here with our 8th grade team, Miss Goodman and Miss Smith, and they wanted to share on some 8th grade projects, and they've done some incredible things this year. And so I'm going to turn it over to them. I'll after I mute my mic and you guys start talking, I'll make you both co-hosts so you can share if you'd like to. Welcome, good morning, Mrs. Smith and Miss Goodman. Tell us more about the 8th grade projects.
Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, today we're actually going to do, for whatever time we can, just an overview of what's going on. And then next week, we plan on sharing some examples. Ms. Goodman might be prepared to vice versa, but I need to get some permissions from students. So this is called the Book Thief Project, for lack of a more creative word. It incorporates language arts. And that's primarily based off of this historical fiction book, The Book Thief by Marcus Sussex. And then it's got the social studies aspects, which is based on this one, the big fat notebook of American history, which if you don't know of this series is awesome. Little plug for that company. So American history, 1800s to 1945, which is including imperialism to World War II. We spend most of the time in World War II. Here's a big giant list of that stuff that's related to social studies that we are doing in this project. Again, most of the time in World War II, also touching on Alaska, Elizabeth Bradovich, the Anti-Discrimination Act, and the parts that the Aleutian Islands had in regards to Japan in World War II. And one of the things that I incorporate the whole time is an analysis of art. So art changed from from Romanticism to realism during this time between the wars, World War I to World War II. And then at the end of the war, we had this dramatic change. This is on the right side. This is a painting at the end of World War II coming out of Europe. And on the left side, this is toward the end of World War II, 1945-ish, coming out of America. And we talk about what does this mean? We use the labeling, we use the images, and we use the symbols and the colors in those symbols to discuss an analysis of the art and what is the overall conclusion we can draw from the thinking, the morale of those people. So this is some giant list of social studies enduring understandings. You can see also historical primary source documents, a lot of photographs, a lot of videos we're going over. So we're looking at this one in the middle, kind of the one that goes throughout the whole quarter. The events of 1890s to 1945 changed America's national identity and ideologies. And in particular, during especially the 1800s, we're building up this military fleet, naval military fleet, which then is used in a great deal during World War II. We also are primarily looking at propaganda and how is propaganda used in global war. And we're looking at American propaganda and German propaganda and Soviet Union propaganda and Great Britain propaganda. So this is American propaganda you see, and we analyze the, like I said, labeling, why these colors, what do these symbols represent, what does that hands mean, and how is this propaganda used? What is the message of this propaganda? All right, so also has language arts. Here's the big giant list of language artsy things that are in this project. One of them you can see in this image is the symbolic and figurative meaning versus literal meanings. So literally you're looking at a sunset here. If this picture was incorporated like beside, there's some text, some labeling, some words, and then there's this picture. Why this picture for representing those words and those ideas? So we have this narrator in our book who uses who makes these mental images, particularly of the sky. And we talk about, well, what are the layers of meaning here? So, blue, we talk about blue meaning depending on the shade, but typically it's indicating a peaceful moment. a calm moment. And the reds and the oranges are typically indicating a warning light, like flashing a warning light as something terrible is about to happen. Okay, and we are asking this question in the primarily in language arts with reading Book Thief. What was life like for Germans during World War II? And as you can see in the social studies side of it, we're looking at Americans during World War II. So we're looking at both sides of that World War II experience as a string that goes along the whole thing. All right, and ELA themes here. That we're talking about overall kindness and cruelty in humans, dualities of Nazi-era Germany, and the power of words. You can see the Hitler Youth Program. We talked about that. This could be a representation of our main character in our book. And it's all about the power of words as well. So we talk about using our words in a careful way. And there's a lot of talk of empathy in our class right now, just as part of the, it's not like I'm doing social emotional learning explicitly, but it just kind of comes out as part of the study, which is a really interesting side benefit that the students are talking about. Lots of connections to today and how they talk with each other. All right, any questions about 8th grade language arts and social studies, the Book Thief project? You're on, Miss Goodman.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. That was really fun to see what you're doing. And I love that you were talking about the social emotional learning, because that really is a big part of our projects. Having a project-based learning is that we have an opportunity to do everything in our project. So yeah, we do, Ms. Smith will do some math, I'll do some social studies, I'll do social emotional learning. So it's all tied together. So it sounds like we have some time next week also to maybe go into projects in a more general format to give you an idea of our big thinking with the project-based education. And today I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing in 8th grade. I like the way Ms. Smith started out by bothering you with a question. I'm kidding about the word bother. So I'm gonna copy Ms. Smith and have you guys do some work now. So make a guess. Think about what percentage of the food your family eats do you think is locally grown? Just throw out a rough guess.
10%.
All right, 10%, cool. 1% from Howard. 8. So you're all telling me some pretty low answers. And I'm guessing you're telling me that, I would think that actually Mr. McKelkey and Mr. Mosen, you both harvest a lot of food. Like, sounds like you get some meat from the valley, Mr. McKelkey, and do a lot of your own preparation of meat. So maybe your value is a little higher than other people's, which is why you told me 10 and other people are saying 1, which is still a pretty low number. So that's one of the things we talk about in our class, food security. So most of the food that we get here in Alaska is from the lower, is imported, actually 95%. So our theme this quarter and last quarter too was food security. And we're doing it very different, although it's the same theme as last quarter. We're doing it very differently because we're in person and we can go outside. We don't want to be on the computer all day. So what we're looking at is first defining what the food security in Alaska is. And we just started a little smidgen of that by seeing how little of the food that you guys eat is locally grown. That kind of tells us right there that we're so dependent. And then we're learning and researching how we can make that better, how we can get more food in Alaska. So some of the stuff that we're doing is we started off by tracking the path of our food from where it's grown to our tables. And this is very difficult. It sounds a lot easier than it is. I'll tell you more about it in a second. We're going to be growing and planting starts. And actually, if all goes well, that's a big if, we hope to maybe have a plant sale at the end of the quarter where you, the community, could have a chance to get some starts if you forgot to plant your tomatoes yourself. We're actually also learning about subsistence, and there's our opportunity for infusing the culturally appropriate standards and information. We're going to be depending on the snowpack, going around and making our own tea by things that we can find around here. We're also doing animal tracking and signs. We're not going to be harvesting any fish or moose, but we will talk about that. And we're doing tons of pre-algebra and algebra in all of that. And it all fits into science standards as well, natural selection, genetics, climate studies. And we're doing a lot of field trips. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're doing. It looks like I have more time, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more. This is what we just worked on. The students decided, we had a big vote and then we had a runoff, that we would track pizza. And some kids got excited. They thought we were going to make pizza, but we're like, no. We're just tracking the pizza from where all the ingredients come from to Alaska. So we divided the students up. Every student got a different ingredient, like salt, paprika. They did such a good job. I was amazed. They know how to make pizza. And then they actually had to create the path of their ingredient, and they plotted it on the coordinate plane using latitude and longitude. And we're determining the distances. We also did a scale model, and tomorrow we're going up into the auditorium, and we're going to, because there's a coordinate plane on there with the rugs, and we're going to plot our scale model on there, and then we're going to basically race our distances to see which ingredient takes the most energy and is the fastest travel. So we're going to be doing little rate calculations there. So here's what they had to do at first. They had to do all this research. This student did salt, and he found out that salt comes from a mine in Toronto. I think it probably goes by truck, not plane, but he thought it went by plane to China. I mean, not a truck, probably a barge. It went to China where it was processed. And then it came back to Chicago and then went to Indianapolis for packaging and distribution, and then by barge up to Alaska. So you could see it really travels a long way. And then sounds like he gets his from Walmart and they drive it home in a car. So we plotted that on the coordinate grid, and it looks like this with latitude and longitude. So starts in Seattle, goes all the way to China, and then all the way back. And it was originally going to have them measure distances using the distance formula, but realized that doesn't work because in real life, these lines are arcs, and that would involve trigonometry. We're not there yet. But Mr. McKelkey, if you want me to teach trigonometry, we'll do that. So those are just some of the things that we're doing. Next week, I'll tell you more about it. But those of you that are watching 8th grade, here are some things that we'd love ways for you to support your student this quarter. There's a lot to bring every day because they have to take it home every day. So if you could help your student remember to bring all of their stuff every day, that would be huge. You know, we have chargers and Chromebooks and their pencils. And as usual, if you can help check Q and Canvas with your student. I need some volunteers because we're going on some walking field trips. And if parents have completed all of the forms with Miss Beyondich, I could use some parents to jump in there and also help with our basket auction. Help! I need help with that one. That's an exciting opportunity for fundraising. So yeah, thanks for letting me blab away about our projects. And it sounds like we'll have some more opportunities. You know, I love talking about how great our students are.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Goodman. And thank you, Mrs. Smith. That's really, really awesome to hear about projects that are happening in 8th grade and to see you two bring project-based learning to life at our school. We talked earlier in morning coffee, you know, that the driving educational philosophy at STrEAM Academy is project-based learning, and we're always striving to refine that and to be a school that implements curriculum primarily through projects. And you two are really living examples of doing that. And so it's very cool. It's really cool to see. It's really much appreciated. And thank you for sharing what you're doing. And we'll hear more from you guys next week. So that's perfect. Thanks. Well, we're getting close to the end of morning coffee today. I do like the reminder from Ms. Goodman to not only for parent volunteers, but also each cohort or group is doing a basket. And so we're asking that students and parents help coordinate donations and things for that basket theme. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, please reach out to the 2 teachers your child has, or in eighth grade, the one. But the rest of the 6th and 7th grade have 2 teachers. Reach out to those teachers and say, hey, what's I heard about this basket theme. What's our cohort's theme? And what can I donate for the basket? So let's make these baskets really awesome, awesome baskets to auction off. It is 8:55 a.m. on Morning Coffee. We are coming close to the end here today of a great morning coffee. I do want to say that by popular demand, Mr. Perkins and Mr. Mosen asked, hey, can we continue skiing? So the ski club ended and skiing was over. And we have such a great snow year here in Anchorage. Best snow year I can remember in a long time. And Mr. Mosen, Mr. Perkins just said, hey, can we do another outdoor club, or can we keep this going? So we decided to do Ski Club 2.0 after a little break. And that is starting today. Mr. Mosen, tell us a little bit more about Ski Club 2.0, the second version, what's happening, how to get involved, what the plan is.
Yeah, if you want to get involved, please email me or call me. It's 3 to 4:15 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Meeting, our default meeting place is Russian Jack Chalet, but there will be other meeting points that I will send out via email and remind. And as Principal Mokelke said, it's a confluence of great attitudes, great parent support, and amazing snow. And because we're a small school, we're nimble, we're able to adjust. We want to get the kids outside. We've proven we could do it safely. And we had a great turnout earlier. We're going to go again. I'm a little superstitious. The more you say that the weather's and the conditions are great, the more likely they're going to deteriorate. But we will adjust, when everything is melting or whatever happens. But right now it continues to be amazing, an amazing playground out there for middle schoolers to be out there skiing. So please, it's open to everybody. We've got a lot of new students and a lot of returning students, and it's just a matter of being able to transport your child to and pick them up from where we meet. 3 to 4:15.
Awesome.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah.
Thank you for everything you've done to get our sports program running. Mr. Mosen's our athletic director here at STrEAM Academy. And so for those of you that don't know, last year was our first year of having our own middle school sports. Our board, the previous spring, I asked our board to approve adding 2 official middle school sports, cross-country running and cross-country skiing. And so last year, Mr. Mosen and Mr. Perkins coached cross-country running, cross-country skiing, our first ever official middle school sports programs. We competed in the district, and it's really, really cool. Then, of course, with the pandemic, we weren't able to have sports most of the year, but we got to a place where we were comfortable with putting together a ski club. So we didn't get the competition side, the official middle school sports side of it this year, but we got out and did a ton of skiing and had great experiences. And so I want to thank you and Mr. Perkins both for all your hard work on that. And as well as our 501c3, our nonprofit, and Melissa Reed, one of our parents, who's really spearheaded grant writing and fundraising and supporting the program on that side of things. So thank you very much. I see that in the chat, Mrs. Smith said her theme is bacon and breakfast. So Miss Smith, you know that I make my own craft smoked bacon, Lazy Mountain Barbecue. And I would be glad to donate some bacon to your basket if that's what you'd like to have in there. And then Miss Goodman's theme is Outdoor Explorer. So I'll have to try to think of what I can donate to the Outdoor Explorer themed basket. That's a pretty cool one. I like that. Mr. Mosen, what are you and Mr. Perkins doing? What's your basket theme?
The students voted on pizza night.
pizza night basket. Oh, that's cool. There's lots of things you can do. You can get the little shakers with the Parmesan and the red pepper flakes and put it in there. And yeah, a pizza cutter, a pizza stone. Oh, there's all kinds of cool things.
Perkins is he doesn't know this yet. He's gonna help us, make a custom pizza cutter with wooden handle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I need him to make a cutting board for my charcuterie basket too. So we're all donating things to each other to make these baskets happen. It's really cool. Our 501c3, our nonprofit is really been amazing. They've really come to life and kicked into high gear and really started to ramp up fundraising efforts. And so it's a special part of a charter school. Charter schools have a nonprofit arm that are really important to how charter schools operate in our district and in Alaska. And it takes a lot of work to get a nonprofit, and it's really separate from the school. It's the one part of the school that I don't manage and operate and not directly involved in. It's really operated separately from the school and from our APC board. And it takes a lot of work. Those of you who have had any involvement with nonprofits, it takes a lot of work to run a nonprofit. It takes a lot of work to start one and to keep that going and to do the taxes and the accounting and to do fundraising is a lot of work. So I really want to thank Mrs. Beyondich, who has really been a driving force behind getting our nonprofit going, putting on that different hat, and our nonprofit board. I can't name them all off the top of my head, but I know Gail Yip, who's a board member and a supporter, is involved. Whitney Diatri, one of our founders, is involved. Jen Mickelson, another one of our APC members, and a longtime STrEAM supporter. Melissa Reed, one of our parents, been a parent since we opened STrEAM. Melissa's son came to STrEAM our first year, and her daughter is still at STrEAM. So Melissa's been a STrEAM parent for 5 years now, and will be next year also. So Melissa's really, really done a lot of work. So hopefully I didn't leave too many other people off, but I got it, Sylvia. I nailed it. Well, look at that. So yeah, just thank you to our staff for engaging in this, and thank you to our nonprofit, STrEAM Anchorage. So we're going to wrap up morning coffee. It's actually after 9 o'clock, but that's okay. Next week, we have our 8th grade cohort back on to talk about what's happening, and we have Anchorage Parks, Meredith Gutierrez and Aaron Kirkland from the 2 different parks related groups in Anchorage. I learned there's Anchorage Parks and Recs, and there's Anchorage Parks Foundation. They're actually separate organizations. They work together. And Meredith's from one of them, and Aaron's from the other one. And I don't ask me which one is from. And that our own Megan Gatlin, who coordinates a lot of our mission and vision things, including our outdoor ed and our relationship with the parks. Those 3 will be on to talk about parks and opportunities and outdoor education next week. So join us right here, same bat time, same bat channel. And that's it for morning coffee this morning, folks. I want to encourage you once again, get outside every day. Get outside, be good stewards of our environment. Remember that I didn't start, and I'm remiss, I didn't start with this, but I'll end by saying that we are privileged to walk the lands that traditionally were the lands of the Dena'ina Athabascan people. And so that fits very, very closely with STrEAM's mission and vision. Be good stewards of that land and caretakers of continuing responsible and respectful use of our lands, and get out there and enjoy those lands. Get out there and enjoy. I see the sun shining on the birch trees. The snow is fresh. Get outside. That's it. Have a good morning, everybody.